Thank you everyone for coming today. I think last workshop was really fun and I hope everyone found it helpful. So today we will be talking about specifically about landing a UX and products design internship. So we won't cover anything about introduction to UX. So if you missed the last workshop, please reach out to Sandy for a recording. So before we start, let me set up so that I can see the chat as well. Here we go. Okay, so before we begin, I just want to do a quick recap about what we talked last time. So here are just some terminology that we will mention throughout the workshop. So when I mention product, that means cover digital products. So that include mobile applications, websites, softwares, AR and VR, and other technologies. And UX stand for user experience. UX is how the products works, how the user experiences the products. And then CX is customer experience. So that is an overall customer experience of the product. And for UI stand for user interface, and it is how UI is the look and feel of the product. So just want to do a quick recap before we jump into today's. For the agenda today, what I'm going to go through is the whole process of applying for internship. So first we're going to talk about like pre-applications and then the applications period. We also talk about like tip and trick for phone interview, tip and trick for design challenges, and also what happened during the technical interview, and also like what happened, after you went through all that, you go through all that. So just want to give you the timeline of internship process. It's going to be around 1 to 4 months from the day you apply to the day you get the offer. That's going to be a 4 months long process. So let's get started. So the first thing is the pre-applications. I kind of make a quick checklist here, so maybe you can want to write this down. But before you apply, you need to have these ready. So first of all, is the resume, and then cover letter, which is optional. Many of the companies, they don't read cover letters anymore, but it's still good to have. And then make sure your portfolio is ready, and also make sure you talk and chat with at least one designer at the company that you are applying to. And then make sure to research the company, understand what they do. And then lastly, just be ready, just get everything in place so that once you start the recruitment season, you can just, apply it very quickly. So this is just like a quick checklist to keep in mind. So first I'm going to talk about resume tips. This is one of the things that students struggle with because writing resume, I would say is a skill. So on your resume, think about your impact. For example, if you have had an experience like working somewhere before, think about the value that you added to the previous role or the internship. And it doesn't have to be like number or stats or metrics, just any impact that you bring to the company. So an example here is that instead of saying, I designed an app and a website while collaborating with PM and engineers, instead of saying that, say something like, collaborated with product manager and engineers to build the first iOS app, which helped the stakeholders to raise more funding. So add the impact in there. It's gonna sound a little bit different because the first one that I mentioned, you just tell them what you did, but not why and what happened with your impact. So always add the so what and the why after everything you did. That would help you just stand out a little bit more. And for a resume, I would say research the designer's resume who are working at the companies that you want to apply to. There are a few sites that you can check out. So Bestfolio is one of them. You can see resume of these designers who are working at different companies, and portfolios also showcase resume of these designers as well. And also, if you're on LinkedIn, you can actually go into their profile and click on the contact information, and you can see their resume and portfolio as well. So when you have the resume up, do pay attention to the keywords that they use within their resume, and also see how they work their impact and how they kind of structure their experience on their resume. So what I usually do is I analyze their resumes because, again, they got hired at that company for a reason. So make sure you kind of pay attention to those keywords, because nowadays resume will be, before it goes to a recruiters, is actually have to go through something called the ATS machine. And ATS machine is it's kind of like it's a different method for every company, but usually they go through that to pick out the keywords on your resume to see if it matched with what they are looking for. So always analyze their resume and see if there's any repeating like keywords, and then you can use that on yours as well. And also kind of ask yourself, like, if you were a recruiter, like, why did you hire this person? Like, why is this resume successful? So think about that when you're looking at the designer's resume. And then another resume tips that would like to talk about is how your resume has to reflect your LinkedIn. I know many students don't have LinkedIn yet, so you should hop on it right now, because a lot of them are on LinkedIn. A lot of recruiters, a lot of hiring managers are on LinkedIn, and they definitely will look at your LinkedIn together with your resume when you apply to any internship. So make sure your resume experience reflects what is displayed on LinkedIn, and also look at your resume and think about the experience of it. Like, did you put things in order? How did you kind of laid out your resume? Things like that is very important as well. And if you don't have any previous experiences, use the space to list your projects instead. Many of the students, afraid that your LinkedIn looks so blank and you have nothing on there, but you can always put your projects there instead as well. And another thing that I found very helpful was that what I usually do is I send a copy of my resume to a designer at the company for feedback, and they actually give me very valuable feedback. And because they have been working at the company, they know exactly what the companies are looking for. So always send a copy to them for feedback, and you can do that through LinkedIn as well. And yeah, the tip is, like, don't wing it. A lot of people kind of rush through the resume process because they think that portfolio is like more important. And I know that there are like a lot of saying around, resume is just helping you through the door, but portfolio is what gonna land you a job. But still, like, you need to get your foot to the door. So resume is going to help you with that. So focus on resume and portfolio equally. I see something on the chat, but unfortunately, like, I cannot see it. So I will look at it in a bit after the presentations. Next up, I'm going to talk a little bit about portfolio tips. Before I dive in, I just want to do a quick recap on what is a UX portfolio and what is not a UX portfolio. So for UX portfolio, instead of showing, just graphics or just like images of your design, it is expected to see, they expect us to see your case study instead. So in your case study, you should be able to show your process and your progress and how you think and solve a problem. And case studies are usually either a PDF document or a website. So this is more up to you. And then for Dribbles and Behance, which is which are very famous website amongst designers. However, these are not really considered a UX portfolio. These only shows the design and the interface of like an applications. It doesn't show how it works and how you solve like problems. So if you were to apply to a UX internship role and send them a link to your Dribbles or a link to your Behance, they might not consider you because it doesn't show them any like of your process on how you solve these problems or how you even come up with the design. So in your on your portfolio, the tips to do it is to always ask why. This is one of the tricks that I thought it was really effective for me. So when while you're doing your case studies, always ask yourself like why am I doing this? Why did you put this wireframe here? Why did you say things like this here? Because if you if you don't explain to them like why you do certain things and just kind of give a statement, people don't know how you think. So let's say if you have a research sections on your case study, and you said I interviewed 7 people and here are my insights. Again, these are just more like statement, and it doesn't explain like why you even like interview 7 people, and why did you choose this method. So instead of saying that, you can say something like, I decided to interview 7 students at my university. They were recruited through my school campus forum. I chose this method of research because of the time constraint I have with this project. So give a little bit more context and the reason why you decide to go with certain directions. And this is one of the most important tips. I give this tips to a lot of students. Basically, I see that a lot of UX students spend their time on coding the portfolio instead. And so one of the things I want to remind you is that when you apply for UX internship, what they're looking at is your case studies. They're not looking at, who's coding the website. So spend your energy on case studies instead of, spending 7 months coding your portfolio. So that is one thing, just want to, make it clear. So again, focus on case study and care about the UX and the design of your portfolio. Like think of yourself as a hiring manager. Like when you go to the portfolio, does it make sense to someone who just go there for the first time? So think about it that way as well. And then I would recommend use professional website template builder such as Squarespace, Wix, or Webflow. And also think about the scalability of your portfolio as well. Like how can you, make it easy for you to update in the future. If you code your portfolio, it may take you more time to update it later on. And for case studies, on portfolio, usually hiring manager expect to see 2 to 4 best case studies. They don't want to get overwhelmed. The typical minutes that recruiters and hiring managers spend on your portfolio is only about 3 to 4 minutes. So we want to lead them to the case study that you want to show them. So do not have 10 applications case studies on there. It's gonna overwhelm them. So do show 2 or 4 best ones. And yeah, again, don't spend months coding your portfolio, and as well as don't use website template that outshine your work. One of the things that I found out from talking to a recruiter is that they found a lot of portfolio from students that have very good template. Like the design of the website is super beautiful, but then when they see their case study, they were quite disappointed. So again, we want to spend the right energy toward working on case studies instead. The next one is for your portfolio, make sure you show your personalities. And this is a place to, PR yourself and really tell them who you are. Because, every day they could go through 300 portfolios. So how do you stand out? Like if you have, international background, if you have any cool background or have knowledge about certain technology, mention that on your portfolio. Give them a reason or two why they should hire you. Because if you think about it, there's maybe thousands of students who are fighting for the same position as you. And everyone knows how to, design an app. Everyone knows how to design a website. So how do you stand out among the crowd? So do PR yourself, tell them more about yourself. And yeah, just don't just show your work. Another one I want to talk about is regarding case studies. So case studies are going to be what determine if you are qualified to move to the interview rounds. So again, within your case study, make sure to tell your story and show process, and try to avoid writing a long paragraph. Instead, use bullet point when possible. And also care about the UX of your own case study as well. One thing I like to do is to send my case study to a non-technical friends and ask them if they understand what I'm trying to do here. And if your non-technical friend, understand what you're trying to solve here, then we should be good. But a lot of people, when they do their case study, they think that they kind of forget that, someone who's looking at this case study for the first time may not know about this case study as much as you. So always, explain and lay it out in a sense that that person doesn't know anything. So I usually do that. And again, don't just focus on the visual and the high fidelity of your case studies. Do show process, like, explain out everything that you do. And one thing is, don't link your case study externally to other sites. A lot of people, require recruiters and hiring managers to click, have like 5 clicks to see the case studies. That is not a good, UX for your own portfolio. So try to keep things on the same page or like the same website, instead of linking them out to, Medium, or link them out to Notions, things like that. So try to keep things at the same website if you can. And then another tip is very simple, but a lot of students actually, not pay attention to do so, is to be honest. This is actually a problem that a lot of recruiters mentions when I talk to them, is that some students, they work on a group project at school, or like they work on a group projects together. However, when they go through, when they put it on their portfolio, they take all the credit of the of other team members. So before you start your case study, make sure you explain your role, like what you actually do for this case study, and explain your task and your team's task as well. And then if you are doing research, do show honest research data, because if you just make up your data, 5 out of 5 students think that this app is good. Like recruiters and hiring managers, they've been in this industry for the longest time. They will know if you are faking your research data. So try to be honest all the time. Sorry, another portfolio tips. Again, like today workshop is going to be very informational, loaded. So just bear with me. So for portfolio tips, I would say get as much as feedback as you can from experienced designer. Whenever I enter recruitment seasons, I usually send out my portfolio to designers working at these companies, and I just connect them on LinkedIn and send it to them and ask if they can help give me feedback on my portfolio. And so far, they have been very helpful and give me very good feedback. So I would suggest to do that. Another thing is that since you're asking a lot of different people for feedback, there will be a lot of conflicting feedback. So some might say that, oh, you should put the result first. Some may say that you should put the result of your case study last. So for that, you should filter the feedbacks as well, kind of think through it, like if it makes sense in your case. So filtering feedback, I would consider that's an art as well. And then again, don't wing it and don't use dribbles and behands for your portfolio platforms. I just want to stress that because a lot of students still applying with this, and then they always question why they don't get a call back for that. For the next step is I'm going to talk about the applications and the apply process. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account yet, I would say please do, because recruiters and hiring managers, they do check your LinkedIn account when they're trying to go through your applications. And again, optimize your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that you have all the information like filled on your LinkedIn profile. And another tip is to be active on LinkedIn. Many of the students actually get an offer for an internship without applying because they're active on LinkedIn, and recruiters and hiring managers see their posts and see their how they're active on LinkedIn, and understand them a little bit more. So sometimes offers are being sent without even without you even have to go through the applications. So I would say this is a very effective way to land an internship as well, and you can skip through all the resume screening process. And if you have LinkedIn, do turn on LinkedIn job notifications. I do this, and it has been very helpful for me. I know exactly which company is hiring the moment they post their job. So yeah, if you can look here, yeah, it was 20 seconds ago where a design internship was posted, and this will help you to be the early candidate. And being an early candidate give you a lot of advantage because recruiters will look at your application and your profile first. Same thing with Google Jobs. So on Google, you can actually set up a job notification as well. I have this turned on for design internship and design new grad. So again, I know exactly which job is new and always be like the first one to apply first. Yeah, so for hiring period and date, a lot of big companies, if you're trying to get into, for example, if you try to get into Instagram, Facebook, Amazon, or Google, or the big companies, they actually have a specific week of hiring period, and it's going to be the same every year. So to find out about the hiring period, you can try to talk to the previous intern who worked there before. They can tell you exactly when the application, the recruitment season start. Or what you can do is you can do some quick Google research on that as well. For example, Facebook, they actually just opened their applications like this month. So they're still open it right now. So if you're still looking, please do check it out. And same thing with Twitter. Like Twitter just opened their application yesterday. They have the same month and period of when they open the applications every year. Like last year, it was the same month, the same week. So do research on that so you always apply early as possible. And then for another tips for applying is to attend workshop and event on Jumpstart. So I don't know if you've heard of Jumpstart, but basically they are a newer handshake. So on Jumpstart, companies do a lot of university recruitings on Jumpstart, and they have a lot of university recruiting events. So yesterday they have a bunch of Q&A with recruiters, so you can actually meet the recruiters one-on-one. And at these events, you can drop your resume as well. They will look at your resume, and sometimes you can get hired or get an interview on the spot. So do check out their upcoming events and be active on Jumpstart as well. I do know that many companies are moving away from handshake and moving away from a traditional applications process, and they're actually moving to Jumpstart. So Lyft, they actually do their whole university recruiting on Jumpstart and got like 80% of the candidate through Jumpstart. So that is a very good platform to join right now. And another tip is to, instead of just applying, you can also connect with the hiring managers and kind of introduce yourself a little bit and tell them that you just apply to this certain role. When you make your names like known, when they go through the process, they might recognize your name and look at your application first. So that will be very helpful as well. And many students, what they do is they actually, message the recruiters instead. And I think that is like the first mistake that many students make, because they think that the recruiters are the one who are looking at your applications. However, hiring managers are the one who decide if they want to hire you or not. So always talk to the hiring managers, and the recruiters, they are very busy. They rarely reply to any LinkedIn messages. So go with the hiring managers. So if you get through the resume screening, the next step for you is going to be the phone interview. So phone interviews are usually with the recruiters. They will not let you talk to the hiring manager yet until you are in the technical interview round. So during the phone interviews, make sure you know the recruiter's name. I know that a lot of students, they sometimes interview with many different companies and they mixed up the recruiter's name, and that's not good. That's not professional. So make sure you know the recruiter's name. Make sure you know what the company is doing and what is their mission and value. Also read the job description as well, because sometimes you think that, you know, they're hiring UX designers, and sometimes they might have very special requirement. So make sure you know what that is as well. And the most common questions during this phone interview is to talk about yourself. Like they usually ask, like, can you tell us about yourself? And many students think that, you know, it's about me, so I already know what I'm saying. However, like when during that time, you can get nervous, you can get panicked. So always draft your about me first, and then when they ask you that, you can follow your draft and make sure it's straight to the point. Make sure you know, you really showcase what you like, why you're qualified for this role. Many students during this round, they just, you know, introduce very like briefly about themselves, like, hi, my name is Vicky. I'm a student at San Jose State. I'm doing, you know, design studies. Like that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for specifically, like, you know, what are you doing that's standing out amongst other applicants? So draft it very nicely. And during that time, always show your willingness to learn and be humble. Be ready to talk about your design journey and also your passion for design. At every phone interviews, they always ask me like, why did you get into design? What is your story? What is your design journey looks like? So always prepare for that. And then they really like it when you ask them questions as well. So think of it as like a conversations instead of an interview. So do ask them questions as well. I actually like always draft about 5 to 6 questions ready to ask them, because when you do, it shows that you know, really want to join the company. You really want to know about the company and that you are prepared for the interview. So always do that. And this is very important as well. Get a good night's sleep and set alarm. I do hear stories of people who miss their phone interview because they overslept. So that is not a good reason to do so. So please set the alarm as well. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. And during your phone interviews, again, introduce yourself clearly, use your notes, and speak with confidence. Ask your recruiters about the company, the role, and the team cultures, and then ask about the interview process as well and what's next. Many of the company will let you know like what step you are in and what are next. So that will be very helpful as well. And to, you know, feel less nervous, I usually just imagine that I'm talking to a friend. So you can do some interview practice with your friend, and then that will be, you know, help you to be a little bit more calm. And yeah, important, be yourself. Don't fake it. Don't tell, you know, fake stories, and don't make up your experience because they will know. People will find out very easily. And then so next step is after you pass the phone interview, usually company will send you a design challenge. So this is going to be depends on the company. Some startups may just ask you to come in, but some bigger company, they will send you a remote design challenge. But some company, they actually will invite you for an on-site design challenge instead. So this is going to be different at every company, but I'm just gonna try to cover the overall experience. So design challenge is a small project that company assigned to you to test your skill. So this can be a take home or an on-site. This could be a 72 hours challenge, a 4 days challenge, or a 7 days challenge. And some companies actually make you do it like instantly, like on the spot. and they call it whiteboard challenge instead. So whiteboard challenge could be like a 30 minutes or like 20 minutes instead. So it's very different for each company, but this one is going to be, I would say, the hardest step within your interview process. So during this time, the deliverable usually is a case study. Unless this is a whiteboard challenge, they just really want you to write on the whiteboard and draw very, rough drafts and explain why you're doing certain things. And the tips to do whiteboard challenge is that to always talk out loud as you are solving the problems. Yeah. So for the case that for the design challenge, usually they will give you a prompt, and this is going to be different for candidates, or sometimes it's different every year. So like, for example, at Google, they have a different design challenge every year. So I have an example on the right here, which is their, I think, 2017 design challenge for intern. So yeah, it could get, very complicated. And for this one, it's a 7 days design challenge. So the prompt is a little bit more complex. So after you do the design challenge, usually they will schedule you in to walk through your case study with a hiring manager during your technical interview. So if you feel like you're not really prepared for the design challenge, I would say practice using the design challenge generator. I have the link there so you can check it out. They will give you like random prompt to solve, so you can practice your solving skills, problem solving skill. So let me think if there's anything I want to add on here. So yeah, so the prompts they could give you it's going to be very flexible or very specific. So some companies, they would just ask you like to design a food delivery app. Or some company would just, give you the flexibility of, do an applications to help students to do XYZ. So you can go wild with it. So it really depends on the company as well. But this is the step where they can see how you work in within the very short amount of time. And for the design challenge, the thing is, the most important thing is to plan ahead. So if you know that you have 7 days to make an app or like design an app, always plan ahead. What I did that I found very effective was that I kind of plan by day. So like day 1, I'm going to plan out the functions of the applications. Day 2, I'm going to do research. Day 3, I'm going to do wireframe. Day 4, I'm going to start to do some high fidelity design. And the last day is for me to review everything. So always plan ahead, and then don't stress about it as well. It could be very stressful. However, just think about it as, just enjoy the process. And some tips I have for design challenge is that there's no right answer. Many people think that, if you're giving this prompt, you have to like solve it and, give a right answer. However, there's no right answer. You basically, they just want you to focus on the problem and give out your solutions for the problems. And again, like don't worry about the timeline so much, but trying to focus on what they ask you, and think outside of the box if you can. Like if there's any cool technology that you can add into your solutions, to do, like make sure to add that in so you can stand out amongst other different design challenge as well. And yeah, always go back to the prompt to make sure that you answer their question. Many students kind of go off track as they're dive into create their submissions. So always go back to the prompt and check if you're answering what they're asking. So if you pass the the design challenge, the next step is the technical interview, and this one is also important as well. So sometimes companies ask you to walk them through your design challenge that you submitted, but sometimes they want you to walk them through your own project instead. So this part usually is with a UX hiring manager or with the team members that you will be working with. And this could be on site or this could be an online interview as well. And the purpose for this technical interview is to focus on your UX skills and learn how you think and how you solve problems. So the main activities is for you to walk through your 1 or 2 case studies. And again, if it's an on-site interview, then there might be a whiteboard challenge. And the interview could last like a whole day. And for technical interviews, sometimes they are going to squeeze in 5 or 4 interviews on the same day, but sometimes they are going to spread it out. So for example, like at Google, they spread out my interview throughout the 3 months. So I think that was really helpful. But I just recently had an interview with another company where they kind of squeezed in 6 interviews on the same day. So I was talking for like 6 hours straight, and that could be very tiring. But if you're prepared, you should be fine. And so for the purpose of technical interview, they really want to see how you think and how you solve problems, and they want to see your process from start to finish. Again, if you just show them like a highly done like finished design, then it won't tell them anything. So always show process. And again, there's no wrong or right answer. They just really want to see how you think. And when you kind of walk through your case study, make sure you know your case study very, very well. And then during your presentations, make sure to pause 1 or 2 times and ask them if they have any questions. And another tip is, instead of just telling them how smoothly your projects run, they actually really care about if you run into any constraint, if you're running into any challenge. Like make sure to let them know and tell them how you solve it, like what challenges you face while you're doing the case study. They are really interested in that because it shows them that you know how to spot a problem and you know how to come up with a solution. So that would be super great. And also talk about some edge cases as well, and also some explorations if you have. Like usually on case study, you just show like one happy path. However, if you do like extra explorations, like, if your app has like different ways to, listen to music, or, different ways to display something, like make sure to show them that as well, because they know that you have thought of different scenario, you've thought of different directions before you decided to go with this certain one. So that would be very helpful. And then communications is one of the key as well. So think of the interview as a discussions instead, and try to avoid awkward silence. Try to keep the conversations going, like be proactive in asking them questions. Like always ask them, what they like about their roles, what they like about the company. They really like it when you proactively ask them questions. This is something that students often forget about, is that you're not just being evaluated for your design, but also they are evaluating you for culture fit and team fit, to see if you, if you could, what is your like personal vibe, what is your goal and missions, if it fits the team and the culture of the company or not. So remember that as well. And then if you pass through, the interview process, the next step is receiving an offer. So when you receive an offer, make sure to, if you don't receive an offer, or like if you don't hear back from hiring manager within 2 weeks, make sure to reach out and follow up with them. Usually if you get the job, they will let you know, usually within 2 or 3 weeks period. And then if you get an offer, let them know immediately if you want to take the job or not. Many students were interviewing with different companies, and so they were just waiting for other companies to send them the offer as well, and then kind of pick and choose. However, do let them know immediately if you're not going with them, because so that they can interview other candidates and move on, and then they're not waiting for you. And then if you're interviewing with other companies, do let them know that now you have a deadline. usually when you let other company knows you have a deadline and you have an offer from this company, usually they will, make the process faster. They will schedule you in for a technical interview, like maybe like the next day, because they want you to work for their company instead. So yeah, always let other companies know that you have an offer somewhere else. And it is okay to ask for an extensions as well. Like if you are, waiting for your dream company to get back to you, but you already received an offer from this company, you can ask them for maybe a 2 weeks extensions. Usually they will give it to you, but maybe not more than 2 weeks. And another thing is, don't accept the offer just to be safe and then decline it, once you receive an offer from your dream company. What happened is if you do that, then we call it burn the bridge with the recruiters. When you do that, the recruiters now have to go back and start the whole recruiting process again, and then look for someone else to replace your role. So don't do that. Because later on, if you want to return to work at this company, they will not likely to consider you because you're now being like blacklisted by the recruiters. So don't do that. And yeah, you don't know who you may run into again in the future. Many of the university recruiters, they switch companies very often. So like this person may work at Twitter, and then the next year they're going to move to Facebook. So you don't want to like run into them again, and then they remember you as being someone who accept the offer and then decline it and make them do their job all over again. So that is be careful with that as well. And if you don't get the offer, I have some tips for handle rejections as well. If you get rejected from a company, remember that it's not you. There are many reasons for rejections. So companies, sometimes they run into headcount issues, or if they have like budget issues, or if they have like no projects for interns, or if the role is filled with someone like they know internally. So there are many, many reasons. So it's not you. I know a lot of students, they kind of, beat themselves up that, hey, I didn't get this job because like I'm not good enough. But that's not true at all. Like there's so many reasons. They don't tell you. So remember that. And if you don't have any internship offer, or if you don't land any internship at all before you graduate, remember that many people landed a full-time roles without an internship. And not having an internship is not the end of the world. I know many experienced designers who have never done an internship, and they still get they still get into a company just based on like their personal projects. So don't worry about that. And if you let's say you don't have a summer internship, use that time to self-taught hard and soft skill instead, and spend that time to improve your portfolio as well. Don't sit and be sad about it. Really use that time and take advantage of that time. And then, keep applying, and then try again next year, talk to more designers, talk to more, hiring managers, and see how they can help you as well. But yeah, just don't be sad, and just really focus on how to, get the next one. So I would say this is important to remember as well. And I have some other tips as well that I want to give out. I don't think I have a special like categories for it, so I'm just like putting all the tips into one slide or two slides. So let's get through this. So networking is super important if you want to land an internship as well. So networking will help you to get into the door a little bit easier. Like if you know an employee at the company, or if you know hiring managers, usually they can do a referral for you. And referral usually, like recruiters usually look at referral first before they go through their application databases. So this will help you to have your resume go straight to the recruiters without going through any of the ATS system. And for networking, I would say check out meetup.com or Eventbrite, and also reach out to designers on LinkedIn as well. Be friend with them, make friend with them, introduce yourself, mention the school, mention your goal, and like how you want to hear from their experience working at the company. And yeah, focus on building relationship with them and show them your skill and talent, show them your design, really, create a network, like network system with them, like talk to them like every week, talk to them every month, really, basically make friends with them. But what you should not do is jump right in and ask for a referral. Again, they don't know you, they don't know what you can do, they don't know your skill, they don't know your mindset. So you cannot just jump in and ask for a referral. So before you ask for a referral, build relationship with them first. And usually designers really want to help students out. I reach out to many designers, and they actually send me many referrals, and that really helped me to land interviews and internships through referral. So that would be very helpful. And if you are an international candidate, so if you are an international student and your English is not your first language, just do try to communicate slowly and clearly, like don't panic. They don't really care about your accent. They don't care about, where you are or what visa status you are on. Big companies, they are willing to sponsor you. They are willing to, do what it takes to get you if you are really good. And if you are an international student at San Jose State, do apply for CPT and OPT early and don't wait until you get an offer to do so. I know that we have a lot of international students here, including myself, and many of them, wait until they get an offer to apply for OPT. But then that is like a 3-month long wait. So you want to make sure you have your CPT and OPT ready, and then apply for a job, because it's easier for the company as well when they see that you are ready to work. And then again, internship is just an internship. The goal is to learn as much as possible. It does not matter where you're interning. I know a lot of people think that they have to get into big companies, but like you don't have to. You're fine just interning at startup. You're fine interning at school as well. So if you're interested in interning for startups around the Bay Area, you can check out a website called angel.co. I landed my first internship at a startup through this website. So do check that out as well. A lot of startups, they are looking for students, student designers, and they're willing to teach you and mentor you throughout the internship as well. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the degrees. So at San Jose State, I know a lot of BA students try to get into the BFA program, and if they don't get into the BFA program, they stressed out and feel very worried and panicked that they won't land a job. However, I want to remind you that again, companies really care about your experience and your projects. So they often don't really care about a lot about the degrees or what degrees you have. Many of the people who work at big companies don't even have a college degree, and they do a lot of things like self-taught themselves. So I just want to say that don't worry so much about like if you don't get into the BFA program. Like I'm a BA student, and I'm doing just fine, and I still get internship, I still get interviews, and landing internship very effectively as well. So just want to say like don't worry about that. Another tip I have is just, again, like general tips. I would say personal branding is one of the things that helped me to like land these internships. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I post my own content. I share on LinkedIn, anything I think that is interesting. And so far it has been very active. So far it has been very effective. What happened is as I get very active on LinkedIn, I actually got reached out by recruiters and asked if I want to apply for their internship roles. So when you kind of build your personal branding, when you build your reputations, and when people know you, they are going to help you to, refer you to more opportunities, and they will, like find you when their teams or their company is looking for an intern. They will reach out to you. That happened to me like a few times already, so it's not some like myth or something. So just want to share that with you as well. And one more thing is make sure to share your work and design often on LinkedIn. Many recruiters will browse their LinkedIn and see that. And if they think that you are very good, they often may message you as well. So lastly, before we leave today, I just want to talk to you about the Google internship process. The reason why I chose this one is because Google is one of the hardest company to get into as an intern, and they have the most, the longest process and timeline for internship. So just want to share with you my process, and if you want to apply to Google, like you will know the timeline as well. So usually Google, they open their application for UX internship the first week of January. So I do recommend have your portfolio, resume, and everything ready until January, so that when they open on that day, like you can apply like immediately. So I apply on the first week of January and then hear back the first week of February. So that is a month wait. And then that's when they assign me a 7-day design challenge and also some intern questionnaire as well. So in the intern questionnaire, they asked me if I want, like which team do I want to work. So like, within Google, they have like YouTube, Gmail, Google Map, and all kind of thing. So they kind of ask you which team you want to work within Google. And for this question, it's very important how you answer this as well. Many students, they really want to work, for example, they really want to work for YouTube. Then they just put like YouTube as the one options. However, to kind of boost your chance more, do give them more options, and also say that, you're open to any opportunity as well. So that's what I did. I put in Google Map and Gmail, but then I also tell them that like, hey, I also open to other team as well. And I think that was really helpful. And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, a recruiter reached out to me and scheduled a general interview, which is the phone interview. And this is the first step, the first time that the recruiter will ever reach out to you. So during the 7 days challenge, you will not be in contact with anyone yet. You cannot connect with, you don't know who your recruiters are. So you only know when they reach out and schedule a general interview with you. So especially at Google, their interview is a little bit tricky. So now that, let's say I pass the general interview, they will put me into something called the candidate pool. And this only happened at Google. They put me into the candidate pool with everyone else. So let's say they have like 500 candidates in the candidate pool. And so within this pool, this is where teams within Google, they will reach out to you if they think that you are a good match for their team. So I got picked from the candidate pool a day after my general interviews. And then this is where my technical interview and my team matching interview starts. And many students actually got into the candidate pool, but they don't get picked from any teams within Google's. And that's where their interview process ends. So you will only be considered if you get team match with a team within Google. So I went through 2 technicals interview and 1 team matching interview. And after all of that, the recruiters will collect all the interview responses and interview feedback from the hiring manager and send it to a hiring committee. So a hiring committee is a committee within Google that they decide if you are a good match for Google or not. They are going to look at your score. They are going to look at your interview notes and see if you are qualified or not. So again, this is another step that students, like sometimes they could not go pass through, even though they already passed through the technical interview and the team matching interview. And then the hiring committee don't approve it. So their internship, the applications end here. So this is why it's like really hard. So yeah, after the hiring committee approve, then you get an offer. So this is around 3.5, 4 months long. And there's like a lot of patients going through this and a lot of practice go through this as well. So just want to share this with you so that, you know, if you're interested in working for a big company, this is usually what their process looks like. And I think that's it for my workshop today. You know, there's like a lot of information, but before I leave, let me check the time and see if we can do a quick Q&A. I see that there's a lot of in the chat, so let me look at the chat now. So let me go through the chat real quick. Sorry, guys. So someone asked, what hosting website for portfolio would I recommend? So I recommend Squarespace. It's like the fastest way for you to construct your case study. I have mine on there. And if you want to see what it looks like, you can go to vickyvo.me to see what it looks like. And then for another questions, what are some questions that I would ask a recruiters at the end of an interview? I usually ask them what is the next step. Usually they will let me know, like, okay, there's like another technical interview, there's like 2 technical interview with hiring managers, and then they'll let you know if there's a design challenge, if there is any, you know, on-site happening. So usually ask them what is the next process would be very helpful. And I usually ask them, like, why did they choose to work at this company as well? And they kind of tell me a little bit about the culture and tell me a bit about, you know, why they enjoy working there. So I can learn more about the companies and the culture of the company as well. So someone asked if my Google roles, does this apply to all Google roles? So I am not sure, but what I just, you know, tell you guys earlier is for UX design internship. So for other roles, I'm not so sure and not confident to say yes to that. So maybe talk to someone if you are interested in this other role than UX design. Someone asked, is a 7 days design challenge actually reasonable and fair for a candidate if they're not getting paid for it? Yeah, so for big companies, they honestly, like, they don't care if you spend 7 days or, you know, 2 days on it. Like, they say 7 days to get back to them, but if you don't have time, you can spend less time than that. And usually companies, they will not pay you for that because you're applying for a job, and so they would ask for your commitment as well. It say, what is your perspective on how can we make sure our work won't be used? What happened is, during these design challenge, companies will give you a prompt that is not really relating to the company. Like, I was interviewing at a productivity companies, and they asked me to design a music streaming service. So usually they will try not to give you the prompt that reflect on the products of the company. But many startups, actually, they give you a prompt that's specifically about their products. So during those, you need to make sure to ask them more about if they're going to use your work or not. And if you feel like it's a little bit sketchy, then don't do it. Don't go with them, because again, you don't want them to use your free work. And then another question is, how do you feel about redesigning an already existing product experience as part of a portfolio? So if you are doing a redesign, make sure that there is an improvement from it and not just a visual design, a visual redesign. Because if you're just kind of give it a new skin, a new interface, then you're not solving any problems. But if you have a cool features that you want to add into a existing product, then you can do so. But I think it's always better to do something from scratch, because if you are trying to fix a big company's product, like let's say if you're trying to fix Google Gmails, usually they will not like look at it as like so seriously. The reason why is that they know Google have spent millions of dollars to make Gmails perfect. So if you're trying to fix from it, then they already know that, you know, Google has already went through, you know, all these changes to make the right decision. So like, it's hard to prove that your solutions is better than 300 other designers working at Google. So usually I would try to not do a redesign of a product of a company. And then let's say, would you recommend students publish their portfolio through platform like you mentioned? Yeah, so I would recommend you to use, template website instead of coding from scratch, because you want to update your portfolio very often. So maybe next year you're gonna apply for another job or another role. You would have to update your portfolio as well. So you want to spend your time on case study instead of coding everything from scratch, because then you have to spend time coding it instead of focusing on the case study. So I think we're over time a little bit. So I think I will end the workshop today. So if you have additional questions, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will happy to share my personal experience on that as well. So it was like, thank you guys so much for coming today.